same place as always, Talkin Chalk, week 11 already. New playoffs come out, rankings are out. Obviously, a few minds were boggled. We had rants left and right, but let's start it off. I'm Alex Koloja, the host. Today, joined by my cohort at the Sports with Gens, Brian. What's good, my man?
Not much. What's going on, Alex?
Yeah, got my action in, got my French toast crunching. Homework's done. Grades are good. Mom likes me. No wife,
That's a
no
start.
kids. No wife, no
You're,
kids. I guess things. Yeah, we're
you're
all
ahead
right.
of the game.
I'm way ahead of the game. Yeah. So Brian and I, obviously from the Sports Agenda, and then a frequent guest of ours, Colin Wilson over at CCH Picks. Colin, thanks again for coming by, man.
I really appreciate you guys having me. I have to say, Alex is the second.
The hotel Wi-Fi.
Hotel Wi-Fi just kills us.
Every
Just,
time.
and you know what the funny thing is he texts me. He goes, "I hope the Wi-Fi doesn't fuck up again." And I'm like,
And it
"Dude,
just
no,
did.
yeah."
That's the first thing I thought of when you said, "You guys mind if Colin comes on?" Well, sure, as long as the Wi-Fi's good.
Yeah,
The
it's this hotel
yeah,
Wi-Fi. For all you guys traveling out there, the Hampton Inn is just not living it up, man.
dude, you might not get a word in. You might not get a word in. You're gonna start and you're gonna be cutting up, and then Brian and I are just gonna have our own conversations.
I think Colin should draw pictures like you do and just put them up on the screen.
That sounds like a good idea.
Too bad Colin isn't as good a drawer as I am. If you can draw
Hey,
animals, can you draw
I shut
animals?
down. I shut down my tweet deck, so there's not 5,000 retweets in there. Is it better now?
Yeah, you're all right, man. So guys, let's get into this here. Week 11 here. Brian, you and I just discussed after a mini slump back in week 9, we had somewhat of a tumble, and I think that was just stemming from kind of the wear and tear of the season. Teams are changing, and perhaps didn't catch a grasp on that mid-season slump. But we're right back into it. Week 10 was great. The card looks great again for this week. Let's start it off like we always do. Talk about the recaps. Colin, how did you fare last week in week 10?
I finally got heated up again over, if you guys check out, shameless plug, cchpicks.com or at cch. We got off to a really strong start, got up to almost 30 units at one point and just dipped down to 10. And last week finally got hot again and doing it with some nasty teams, doing it with Army covering by a half a point and doing it with, parlaying Florida in when that's the most ridiculous. Those guys, we're going to have a whole show about the Gators, but, Kansas State living up to the hype again, winning me 3X at the Golden Nugget, covering against Baylor. That's all they've done for me this year is cover every damn game except for Texas. And, it's great to be back on the winning train, finish up this year strong.
Cool. Yeah, and you say that too, Colin. Talking about a team like Kansas State, not necessarily a good team. I mean, you look at the first few weeks of the schedule, running through Texas, San Antonio, needed triple overtime to beat Louisiana Tech, but still, it's a team that may not be good as advertised, but it's a team that's usually getting a lot of points in conference play, and usually when you match that up with Bill Snyder, it's usually a death trap if you're laying chalk against Bill Snyder, obviously. So I know you've looked at the Wildcats a lot as a cash cow this season,
Yep.
frequently setting up the profile Abby as the Kansas State Wildcat. So good
We're
looks
going
on that
there
as
again.
always. Yeah, you know what it is, and it's
Back door.
it really is an advantage as a capper. Obviously, we talk about this a lot. Playing teams that playing teams that you've seen, and playing teams that you know how they fare in certain situations. So you banked on that. You've done a pretty incredible job of doing that. So maybe Bill Snyder himself will make an appearance in these plays of the day coming up. But Brian, how about you?
First off, the back door is open if you have Buffalo. Just throwing that out there. On pod plays, I went 1-2-1. Very frustrating 1-2-1. The non-frustrating one was LSU got stomped, which, as I looked into it more after their Wednesday, I kind of saw that one coming. But I won with the drink heavily Texas Tech, West Virginia under 79 we talked about. I lost with my Mississippi State Mizzou under 43.5 when it landed on 45, and there were 0 points in the fourth quarter, and Mizzou didn't score in the second half. which we kind of expected. We said they scored 10 or less. They scored 13. That's the difference. And then the one that really just pisses me off is I had Marshall +3, and they missed 2 field goals to end the game. They missed 2 in overtime and lost by 3 in 3 overtimes.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
And coming from somebody who actually, I wouldn't say I watched the game in its entirety, but I did watch, I would say, 3.5 quarters of the Marshall Middle Tennessee game. And that's a game that I will be getting into, talking about, and kind of going off of that game leading into Week 11. But, we did talk about this, Brian. We talked about this last Saturday. Texas Tech and West Virginia. Coming off, the Raiders had the Pokes. There were points aplenty. I mean, there was 0 defense in that game, but yet they lose by double digits. They come back up north to West Virginia out on the East Coast, a noon start, and it was just almost one of those games where the public was maybe buying into it a little too much, because West Virginia this season has not been a Dana Holgorsen-esque team as far as putting up points and being a cash cow to the over, per se. And we talked about this. We talked about, obviously Jakeem Grant was healthy, but the offense just looked out of sync for a little bit. And we talked about the first half under. We talked about Texas Tech's team total under. So, like I said, those big totals, and I know Rome likes to play them. Shout out to Rome, too. He couldn't be here tonight, but wishes us the best, and obviously we wish him the best. He's got some stuff to do tonight, but those high totals, man, those Big 12 totals are just, I mean, if you can't find an edge on them, it really is. Colin, what's your take on the Big 12 in regards to totals? I mean, we're seeing 79s, low 80s. Do you look into it as much? For me, it's either you take the over unless you find something that tells you not to, but it's so hard to cap a game where you're seeing an 81s and 82s and saying, you know what, I think I like the under in this game.
I was actually a victim of taking one of the games last week and then tweeted about it, I think in the fourth quarter with 21 points to go, and of course there was a backdoor over at the last minute. They hang these numbers in the 80s, and I give them props, because I think one of the Texas Tech games a few weeks ago was 88, and Cantor Gaming, I know Matt Lindemann, they were one of the first ones to lay a total at 88, and it was just balls of the wall, and I think the projected live line at one point was 120. Ended up around 108. It was one of Texas Tech's games. I don't know who, if it really, you can find better value out there than taking unders on Big 12 games. If you really want to, do something, it's like kind of going up to a snowy, nasty, shitty day in the Big 10 and saying, you know what, I'm going to hit all the overs, because usually the weather's so bad in the first half and it's cold and it's early that the first half unders are perfect. So, you can find better value on the board than trying to hit a Big 12 under. And look at the ticket count, guys. I mean, every week it's the same thing. These things are released in the 80s, or they're released in the 70s, they cross the 80s, and it's always about 80% of the steam is on the over. But then you see Sports Insights tweet shit out like 79% of all totals over 80 in the Big 12 always go over. So there's just no sense. You can just find better value than trying to take an under on a Big 12 game.
Yeah, I agree. And you made a good point, too, talking about live betting. I think if you could pick those spots, I mean, obviously it's seemingly walking on coals talking about the Big 12 and live betting, say, an under. But if a team maybe is, I wouldn't say scoring on fluke touchdowns, but if it isn't as clean of a game as it seems, then perhaps live betting is the way to go. But, it's a dainty subject, but still it's something that I think needs to be touched on, because it's so hard to cap games. It's easy enough for an elementary school kid to see a total in the 80s and say, I think this game's going to go over because there should be a lot of points. But I know from experience, too, my brother, who's a recreational gambler, who loves action, loves taking these Tulsa over every weekend, Bowling Green over every weekend, just these teams that the totals are set at 79s because he expects points. And that's kind of a complex structure, but we'll get into it.
I love gauging my brother too. And I've called him Square Brother a few times. I'm sure he's watching. He's going to kill me tomorrow. But I ask him all the time, like, you think it's going to go over? Oh yeah, it's going to go over. I put $25 on it, so I'd take the under. Trying to be sharp on my brother. But I mean, look at the game this week. What's the big game this week? It's Oklahoma and Baylor, and we're looking at a total that opened at 78. It's currently sitting at 77, and it's drawn in 84% of the tickets on the over. Right, so everybody and their mother's lining up to hit this over, and it's sitting on 77. So. you know what? I'm just going to sit back and I'm going to hit this baby live when it gets up to like 105, 110. Because I mean, live betting and Big 12, it's a match made in heaven. It's never going to get a divorce. It's the best thing ever.
Well, yeah, we'll have to remember that for future notice, and you guys can take that into account as well. Let's talk about big dog slate for Week 10. I thought it was a 2-2 week when you take into account the quote unquote upset alerts. I thought it was a good week. I wasn't mad with the 2-2. I think we were justified in every pick. The first one that I had given out, I put on upset alert, was the Florida International Golden Panthers, and backdoor touchdown. I mean, it was a brutal game to watch, even on GameCast. I wasn't even. I mean, I'm trying to illegal stream this game, and I know nobody in their damn mind, I don't care what site it is on, is going to be streaming the Florida International Charlotte game. And
unless you have the Niners, right? Unless you have the 49ers, but
yeah, I mean, and I'm watching like blocked punt touchdowns get returned to the house, and like 1st and 10 from their own 5, like pick sixes. I'm just like, this is the most heart-wrenching game of all time. And sure enough, Charlotte ends up going down and scoring a backdoor touchdown, which was kind of nice. It may not have been the right play or the right insight, but this is one of those things where you're sometimes better to be lucky than good in this aspect, in this sector of sports gambling. Marshall Middle Tennessee State over was a brutal call. Couldn't even get there in 3 overtimes. I'm not even gonna. It's not smoke and mirrors. That was a bad play on my part. However, Middle Tennessee State traveled into Marshall's territory all 7 possessions in the first half. Only had 7 points. You know, it was every first half drive saw Marshall territory. 2 fumbles in the red zone. Marshall ended up turning the ball over in the red zone. So it was just one of those games where the pace was there, but it was just failing to translate into points. I also talked about Stanford and how they were a better team for matching up with Colorado, and it was a little scary there. Their secondary was just giving way too much cushion. It was one of those games where you're watching and you wish you could just scream through the TV, like, can you please lock up on these receivers? I mean, you may not be the Stanford defense of recent years, but at least, you know, be a little bit more intimidating. But obviously, that game crossed the line. The other game that was really just kind of pure fuckery was the Arizona State-Washington State game. And
absolutely.
Yeah, you know what? I grabbed the value, which I thought was great. I thought that everybody was kind of buying into Washington State a little bit too much on this one. I thought getting Berkovici with a few points on the road was superb enough for me. And sure enough, they go up 14-0. And then I don't know, for those that did not see it or are late to the party, Washington State is down 14-3. They're going for it on 4th and 5 in the red zone. Guy gets caught. Luke Falk completes a pass right to the first down marker. Short of the first down marker, guy gets pushed back. Never stepped out of bounds. The refs blow it dead, thinking that he was out of bounds. He wasn't. They get a redo and they score, and then sure enough, it was like 21 unanswered. So that was just the changing of the tide thing. I think that it was a decent play, but still, I mean, it's a loss. It happens. We cashed on a few others. Brian, I tailed your West Virginia under. That was cash. Louisiana Tech rolled North Texas thanks to Kenneth Dixon 6 touchdowns. But I thought it was a good week. I thought the numbers looked a lot better, and I think it's just gonna be a lot more momentum rolling into this week because I got some huge plays coming this week. I got to work yesterday. I got most of my stuff done Monday, so I got a little time to dig up some trends. Sorry everybody. Sorry guys, but let's get into these plays today because I'm really excited. Colin, you always dish out some really good stuff, and Brian, we'll see if you're going back to the well or if you're going to be dialing up some new guys. We'll see. But Colin, let's start off with you, man. Who's number 1 for the Saturday?
Oh my gosh, this is hard for me. We're gonna get to them all, but I'm gonna go right straight to the well. I'm not even gonna wait for best bets. I'm gonna get right to it. I'm going to Kansas State. Everything I've ever talked on publicly has been Kansas State this year. I've got Bill Snyder's face on my timeline if you just clicked on I think if I tried to date a girl and she got on my Twitter, all she'd see is pictures of this old man called the Wizard. But so Kansas State's on the road against Texas Tech, and they had that game covered against Baylor last week, and I wasn't shocked at all because I had it marked as a spot for the year. They were Kansas State coming off a bye, but let's talk about this week with Texas Tech. I have the number as them being a dog by +2.5. So I was going to get into this immediately if I could get anything over the 3. So I hit 5.5. It's stable at 5.5 right now with 68% of the ticket count coming in on Texas Tech, but that doesn't mean shit. What means shit is Bill Snyder's trends in Snyder Nation. So let's talk about them. Kansas State is 4-0 against the spread in this series. They're 12-3 against the spread off of a straight-up loss. They just lost to Baylor, and they have 2 extra days of rest. And Kansas State is 12-3 against the spread when they are away, when they are a dog. They fill all these categories. He never fails me. 2x bet. I love the 5.5. I'm going to live bet it. It's going to be great.
Such a weird line, man. It really is. It took everything for me. It really did, Colin. And we talk about this all the time. Seeing a line that just looks fishy and automatically having this perceived notion to think, okay, this doesn't look right. And obviously when you correlate Bill Snyder and his magic in conference and as an underdog, obviously it's a play, but I just don't, I don't get it. And as sharp as I may perceive myself to be, even I couldn't even make a play on Kansas State just because
they're on their sixth quarterback. They're on their 6th quarterback. I mean, it's just amazing how this team is pulling it off, covering off the covers.
Yeah, well, absolutely right. And I think when you look at how they matched up with TCU, if you can throw, and I know TCU's defense is nowhere near the high society of the Big 12, but you look at the Wildcats had a ton of success at home versus them on offense, and you wonder if it's going to be the same exact thing versus a Texas Tech defense that's just giving up a boatload of points. And I ultimately think that Texas Tech has a ton of athletes. I think the athleticism and talent may be there, but the spot, I don't know. Texas Tech coming off a bad loss rather to Oklahoma State and then going to West Virginia. And I think they got outplayed badly. And I don't think the score reflects how well West Virginia suppressed that offense. But like I said, I don't have any action on this game. I tried to dial up a write-up for this game, and I just couldn't. But I will be full-on Bill Snyder. I will be dreaming about his voluminous gray hair in my sleep tonight. So Cats plus 5.5 is play number 1. How about you, Brian? What's number 1?
My first one of the day is, you were talking about overs this week. I'm going to the underwell, and I'm going to take Virginia-Louisville under 49. To me, this is just 2 inept offenses for the most part. You look at Louisville, besides last week against Syracuse, they've been 21 points or less besides facing a Stanford team since week 2. They just don't produce. Both teams have just been under machines for my trend guys over here. You got Virginia 3-0-1 to the under lately. Fucking Louisville, every stat you look at is an under. I just don't see these teams putting up. I see Louisville winning by 10, but it's like a 28-18, 28-17, something like that. I don't see a lot of offense coming out of this game. It's just more of a gut thing than an actual crunching a ton of numbers things, but I think at 49 is too high in my opinion.
Yeah, and I've got this circle too because last year the Fighting Mike Londons took Petrino to task. They won as a straight up dog, and Uva's covered 3 straight. So Wahoos, I think they keep it really close. And again, I don't think there's many points either.
Yeah, Wahoo's cool. Fighting Mike London's 11 out of the last 13 conference games have gone under the total.
Wow.
For me, yeah. I think it's been a consistent trend too when you look at the ACC. Some of those teams in that conference, in that division as well, facing up with each other, have been a lot of unders as well. But let me contradict that really quick with my play of the day, which I absolutely love. And that's going to be the Clemson-Syracuse over 57.5.
I have that one circled. I actually agree with you on this one.
I had my eye on that. I like it too.
This is the thing. ACC is not my forte. And it's hysterical because I dubbed this conference as like everybody's the same team. Like Virginia, NC State, Pitt. Every line is like the home team's given double digits and the over-under is like 52. It's every single game. So for me, looking at Clemson and Syracuse, decided to do a little digging this week, obviously, and it should be known firstly that while Syracuse, is notorious zero amount in college football, obviously, they're 8-1 to the over this year. Their offensive numbers are not good. Their offense has been non-existent, yet they're finding ways to score points. Defense, brutal. Their secondary is so bad. And if I'm Clemson, you're the number one team in the nation. You obviously don't need to prepare like you would for a team like Florida State or like a team like North Carolina State, obviously. But if you're going to take any fraction of any tape, you're going to want to look at the Florida State-Syracuse game from 2 weeks ago because Sean McGuire lit up that secondary on countless deep balls. And this is when guys like Deion Kane and Hunter Renfrow and Artavis Scott have to take on roles of just stretching the defense. And although Clemson is number one in the nation right now, you need to keep impressing the voters. You need to keep putting up big scores. And I think they could do that versus this defense. Now, looking at Dabo Swinney, taken over since 2007. Since 2011, he's been a double-digit favorite on the road 10 times. The average points combined of those games, 68.8 points per game. So maybe you have a sneaky over team in Syracuse, and I think Clemson scores at will. So give me the over 57.5. That's my play of the day.
Yeah, let me throw some in there with you. Let me throw some in there because I was looking at this. So people may not have known, but Syracuse has gone over 6 of their last 7 games. This thing was sitting at 57. Finally caught some over money today, clipped from in my opinion, a key number of 57 to 57.5. So if you like it, better get it because it's going to get up.
Let's talk about Clemson and some of these scores that they put up on the road when they're a substantial favorite. 58, 56, 42, 59, 40, 49, 26, 56, 42, 56. Only one time was there a game that was under 50 points, and there were 7 of them that were over 62. So I rest my case with that one. I'm not gonna merely go off of trends on this one. I just sincerely think that it's a time when after you face an emotional game in Florida State and a defense that kind of held Clemson in check for the most part, they're going to have their fun with the secondary for Syracuse. That's just porous. So I think it's a time where obviously Watson can flash some of his skills, and the receiving corps obviously stretches a long way when you look at, like I said, Kane, Renfrow, Sharon Peak, Artavis Scott. They got wide receivers for days. So I want to see them stretch the field early and often, and I think Syracuse can hold their own notching 17 to 20 points.
Are they winning the national championship? I'll just put you guys on the spot, yes or no?
No.
No.
No, too.
Yeah, they're good. They're really good, but they're not talented enough. I think if they fall in a hole, they're not going to be able to get themselves out of it. That's the way I see it.
Well, I did some pre-ACC championship game lines, and I had Clemson -7.5 against UNC, and that just seems like that game, that's going to be a scary one for Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be basically whoever screws up the least might win that game. I know that's a John Madden saying. I know that's a John Madden comment right there, but it's pretty. It's Marquise Williams, our favorite guy, AK, our favorite guy. If Marquise Williams doesn't shit the bed, UNC can be in that game.
Could you imagine if Dabo coached Williams? That would be just amazing.
Oh man, that building would explode.
Well, we're on the horn for the second time, so Colin, go ahead whenever you are ready.
All right, guys. I had Auburn as a favorite. I did my projected lines on Sunday morning with some of my Sunday morning coffee tweets. I'm glad I could flood everybody's timeline. It's actually on a plane to San Francisco with no Wi-Fi for 4 hours. I don't know how the fuck that happens, but I had Auburn pegged as a favorite, as a 1-point favorite. So the line opened up at Auburn +2, and I was standing in SFO, and I was like, oh my God, they should not be a dog. They're at home. They're finally clicking. They look okay. Georgia, Rick's on his way out. This team is on its way out. Team's done. Giving up on the coach. Rick's looking for a new job. So Auburn as a dog at home. They just won at Texas A&M. So I liked them anyways, but I had them pegged as a -1. So I wanted to scoop the +2, but by the time I tried to eat it up, it went to +1. I was able to get 2x down on Auburn +1. I think we're sitting around Auburn -1.5. I think it's going to be 3 by kick. I mean, some trends to go along with it. I mean, right now, I mean, Auburn's getting a fair amount of money, and maybe Vegas is reacting to trying to adjust and get that number to 3, and maybe get some buyback. But we got Uga. We got Georgia sitting around as 0-5 against the spread as a road dog, which they are now, and they're 1-5 against the spread in their last 6 games. Period. Auburn got their the win at Texas A&M. They were a dog. It was a good one. They just had a road stint of 3 road games out of 4. The only thing that I kind of scares me about Auburn is that they're 2-11-1 against the spread in their last 14 games. So, there's some pause here, and maybe I'm jumping on the train too fast, or maybe the train isn't leaving the station, but I just think Auburn might have clicked. They might have figured it out. And, I want some payback from a couple of years ago when I had so much money on Georgia, and Auburn pulled that bullshit off when they went on to win the national title. Or lose the national title. Win the national title. Yeah, they won, and then they got fired. Oh, I hate Auburn. All right, Auburn. Get it before it's 3.
I absolutely love that play. I had that play circled. I don't know how they're such a small favorite in that game. I don't see how they were like the biggest factor to me is, like you said, Georgia's given up. They don't give a shit about the season anymore. They don't care about Mark Richt, and it's a joke over there. I think Auburn can definitely do enough to get it done, and they play really good defense that we've talked about before. Alex, I've taken their unders a few times. They have a sneaky good defense against a Georgia team that can barely move the football right now. So I don't know how Auburn doesn't win that by at least a touchdown.
Yeah, it's never, better late than never, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, a team catching stride, it really doesn't matter where it is in the season, but you got to think of a road game at Texas A&M, playing in College Station, coming out with a big win, coming back home, possibly using that momentum, and Georgia just looks lost. They look lost from the early season when you had people as potential SEC champs. They go on a little slump.
They're chubless.
Yeah, they're chubless. They're flaccid as hell right now. So
when they lost their chubby, they lost all their confidence.
Mm-hmm.
The turtle poked his head back in.
Yep.
Let's go. All right, Brian. So you also like Auburn as well. I'll be honest. Like first initial lean in this game, I like Georgia, but the only reason why I like Georgia is because I've watched Auburn play a few times, and sometimes it's just so nerve-wracking to watch Auburn play on offense because they have so much talent, and they just don't utilize it at times, and it's frustrating.
Right.
But if they can,
I'm sorry, Alex. Think about the talent they have on the coaching staff, which I think I dubbed the other day as Gus Champs. Right? I mean, if in my opinion, if they can win this game and it trickles down into the Bama game, I really think they could give Bama a run as an 8-point dog at home.
Well, yeah.
I agree.
That'll be something. That'll be something we talk about. I mean, and if Auburn can scoop up a win here, that's even more momentum, beating a Georgia team who many perceive as a good team right now. But obviously, looking at the recent downslide, we don't know where this team's headed at right now. So, laying the 1.5. Or did you get him at 2, Colin? What was the line at for you, brother?
I got Auburn. I got Auburn +1 on the open Sunday. It's not available. -1.5 is. My power ratings make Auburn -1. I think it's good. I think at 3, you kind of maybe put a half a unit, not a full unit, and I think at 3.5, you just try to grab something live. But I think the Auburn train is the fire is getting warmed up in the front cart, and I think that it's about to start rolling. So it's time to jump on.
Cool. Awesome. Brian,
I just want to ask a quick question with this beanie talk right here. Do I have to go get one of my 3 world title Giants hats and throw it on, or which one do I need to do?
3 beanie hats on, you go do it, buddy. But right now, I'm the champ.
I know. Hey, I'm happy for you, man. You guys kicked ass. Great job on that one.
Put on my fucking Blackhawks jersey.
Oh, shut up. Hockey's for Canadians. You go hang out with Carvin somewhere. Jesus Christ.
You go wear your 100 Pence jersey. Colin, you can wear your beanie, and I'll put on my Carolina and Blackhawks jersey. We could all be winners tonight.
There we go.
I'll sing Chelsea Dagger with you. I love the Blackhawks. I'll sing Chelsea Dagger.
Here's my second play of the night, and I'm going to go on hunger strike until they give me a line for it.
Hunger strike.
I want the. It's partially because I really want the line, and partially I could probably use a little hunger strike, but we're going to go with. I want the BYU Missouri under, and it can be anything under 40 for like give me 40 or better, which I might be grasping for straws. It might be around 35, but these teams are just offensively challenged. This is like short bus offenses here. And BYU obviously better than Missouri. Missouri blew their load last week and they scored 13 points. It's like a season high since like week 2 or something. I don't see either team getting into the 20s in this, or maybe one team into the 20s, but not very much. I see 40 or less take the under. I don't know what the number is. Colin, you probably have a good grasp on what it might be, but I'll be taking that Missouri BYU under.
I'm thinking somewhere around 38 range. And let me just be clear to you with something like this, Brian. I cashed on this earlier this season. Gary Pinkel, 5-0 to the under at home versus non-conference opponents. Cashed versus UConn early in the year, 9-6 win. It was one of the easiest, most leisurely wins of all. It was like strolling through the park with a dum-dum in my mouth.
Yeah. Give me this play all day, like I said.
I had that under with you. And did you guys see that retweet I had today of why don't these Missouri kids go hang out in the end zone because there's nothing happening there, right?
That's awesome. What do you think the line's going to be, Colin? You're pretty good.
I think it's going to be 41.5, and maybe that's a Taylor Magnum. Maybe that's a BYU thing. But I mean, this Missouri, 13 points last week. I think the under is a good play. But for me, this was I got to the Golden Nugget in June, and BYU plus 12 in Arrowhead in this game was the first. This was how I met Sports Cheetah. I was the first one at the counter, standing there with Hayden, turned around. And a guy twice my size, which is impressive, with Sports Cheetah, was right there, and him and I lined up, and that was the first games we hit was BYU plus 12 in this game. So there were some tweets from both of us that we didn't want this game canceled. We didn't want this game canceled at all because we got this sweet BYU plus 12 line. I'm glad it's being played. I don't expect Missouri to show up. I don't think BYU wants to be here either. Their fans are probably a vacation for them to come to Kansas City and go see a World Series trophy and then go to Arrowhead and then go home. But yeah, so I think it's going to be low scoring too.
Sweet. Yeah, if they throw a 41.5 up there, I might seriously go on hunger strike, lose some weight for this game. It'd be worth it. It'd be a phenomenal number.
That if you see
you're looking at a 21-16, 21-14, 21-17.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I think BYU will get 20 to 21 points, and Missouri will get their typical 10, maybe 13 max.
Mm-hmm.
17-16 Fighting Pinkers. Outright.
Yeah, this is actually interesting for me. Is like because I try to make my own lines, and I try to be extremely accurate with my lines, and I tweet out Sunday. Sometimes I'm dead on with my lines, but I couldn't really figure out if I should put home field advantage in for Missouri for this game because it's only an hour and a half, 20-minute drive from Columbia over to Arrowhead. It is in Arrowhead. A ton of Mizzou fans are over there, a ton of Kansas fans too, but a ton of Mizzou fans over there. It should be a 80%, 90% Mizzou crowd if they can fill Arrowhead. But I don't know if you put in home field advantage like when UNC plays in Charlotte. Do you give them home field advantage points? I think that was the big thing for me here.
You can't give them as much as you normally would. It just doesn't make sense to me, but that's my opinion. Because the players
have to travel, right? It's like when Arkansas has to go play these 2 stupid-ass games down in Little Rock. They have to go get on a bus for 3 hours before they play in Little Rock.
And you watch them every year. They never play the same there. It's just a fact. Yeah.
No, it's just this is a dumbass Southern-ass Arkansas fans want to not have to drive so far for a game, and they bitch and moan if they don't get their team down there. What a dump.
Yeah.
It's like
Love it.
We're all on the same page then there. With the under, obviously, maybe not the sharpest pick in the world, but it's so hard not to just jump on that train.
Hey, what are you trying to say?
I'm just saying it's like Rome taking. Hey, Rome takes the biggest Big 12 over every weekend, and he goes like this, guys. I'm back on the wagon. Texas Tech, Oklahoma State. Give me the over in this one. I'm seeing
That's a really
lot
good
of points.
impression. I'm
seeing a lot of points. Mahomes has been, he's been pretty good for the most part. They just got some real good skill players. You want to think that Cliff Kingsbury will utilize and show up, and he's going to really want to put on a good performance for his crowd. So, guys, give me the over in this one.
AK's rhythm and pitch was perfect.
Yeah, and he's going to watch this tomorrow and die laughing.
I'm fearful for when he does me because that was his pitch and his tone, everything was his rhythm was perfect there.
And I just love some of it. Like, you could put any type of research or any sort of factors into it. I love Rome's. You got a guy in Cliff Kingsbury, and you got to think that he's going to want to come out and put on a good show for his fans. I mean, he's done a pretty good job in doing that. So you want to think that he'll want to make some plays in front of his home crowd, and they respect him. So
one night I think one night he sourced like a Cosmo magazine article. He was like, but I can't do his rhythm and his pitch. But I'm not trying to bag, but it was all like, I was reading this Cosmo article and it said that the over was good in Hollywood.
He's like, guys.
So,
He's like, guys, listen, I was in the dentist office and I was just shuffling through some magazines and I came across Sports Digest and they were talking. They said, talk about Jared Goff, and this was him coming back home, and he's got a lot of guys and skilled players, guys that can really catch the ball, and guys, give me Cal for this one. Give me Cal. I like Cal for this one.
I don't know what's better, you doing that or that faux Gruden shit, man. That's some top stuff right there.
Oh man,
that is good stuff.
Okay, what's your second pick, Alex? We have derailed this train. What do you got?
The train's going off. We're done talking about picks. Take the 5 picks. We're going to just start imitating Rome from now on. Oh, man. All right. Play number 2 for me. I don't know what it is about this team. I have not watched this team play more than 5 snaps this season, but I'm just picking spots. And it's going to be Florida International plus 12 versus Marshall.
Panthers.
Pardon me? You like this one?
Panthers. I said Panthers. That's all.
Oh, thanks, Cal. Appreciate it, brother. This is a team that's in Marshall. It's catching a lot of publicity, and I think this is a case where a lot of people are looking at the paper test. Obviously, it's Marshall, but it's not a team like it has been in recent years. The offense is jumbled. It's not.
No Cato.
Yeah. No Cato, no Schuler. It's a lot of guys that have filled in. You look at Hylik Foster was a wide receiver, slot receiver coming in. He's playing running back from replacing injured Devin Johnson right now. DeAndre Reeves, the regular special teams returner, has moved to wide receiver, given he's made some pretty spectacular plays for that offense. Chase Litton looked okay versus Middle Tennessee, but it's not. This isn't a team that's been challenged yet. Their combined record versus their opponents is 37-58. Opponents' records versus Marshall that have played Marshall so far. And I think it was evident last week that whenever they can play somewhat of a subpar team that they're going to have problems. And you look at Middle Tennessee, they only scored 27 points and needed 3 overtimes, yet they stormed into Marshall's territory on all 7 first-half drives. I made a few points a few weeks ago. Florida International loses to Florida Atlantic. It was a game that if they win that, they would beat Charlotte. They're bowl eligible. Well, they lose to Florida Atlantic, and they got Marshall and Western Kentucky knocking on the doorstep. I'm telling you right now, Florida International will not beat Western Kentucky. This is a do-or-die situation for Florida International. It's a bad spot with Marshall coming off a triple overtime loss, and they have Western Kentucky on deck, going to Bowling Green to play Western Kentucky on deck. I think 12 points is a lot of points here. Florida International, you can't write home about them. It's nothing that's going to dazzle you, but it's a team that has played extremely well, beating Central Florida. Obviously, Central Florida's bad, but you go on the road. They held Indiana close. It's only like 17 first-half points. They lost by 14, obviously, but the game is a lot closer. This is a team that, if they're going to do it, it's going to have to be this week, so I think it's going to be a lot closer. And this isn't a Marshall team. I know when you look at Marshall, you want to think a lot of points. And, I mean, the defense has been great. But there's a lot of wide receivers on Florida International that can make plays. Gardner, Owens, Johnny Smith. Remember those names. I think it's a team that can give Marshall problems in the secondary. So give me Florida International plus 12. I put them on upset alert. I just think that it's a game for Marshall to lose because of Western Kentucky on deck. Obviously, they want to revenge that loss. Coming off of a triple overtime loss in Murfreesboro, coming back home. Still, home crowd's always good for Marshall, but I like Florida International plus 12. I'll take the double digits.
That's good. I'm going to tail that one. I'm even going to tell Twitter that I'm tailing you because You're right. Coming off triple overtime, you want to fade teams off overtime, kind of like Arkansas. But you want to. Marshall's getting 73% of the tickets. We're sitting on a dead ass number of 12. this is a dirty parlay for me. It's going to be in there, and I'm going to tail this play and take some points too.
Yeah, well, it counted. It opened up at 10.5, 10.5. It went up, obviously. Money came pouring in on Marshall.
Yep.
But I think if you look at this game, in any other year besides this year, you obviously want to hammer Marshall. But like I've preached this, and I literally just preached it. It's just not the same Marshall team that it has been. You're not wagering on Marshall. You're wagering on a freshman quarterback, a dinged up offensive line, a secondary that showed that they are very vulnerable when you get a quarterback that can pass. Alex McGow has been, I wouldn't say he's dazzled, but he's been good enough to rack up 5 wins this season already for Florida International, a team that went 1-11 in 2013 and 4-8 in 2014. So it's a team that's progressing, and they have some underrated skill on offense. It'll be up to the defense if they can hold their own. And I think with Western Kentucky on deck, I think this is a perfect spot for Florida International to come in and keep it close. I really do like the 12 points. So, man, I'm all fired up right now. I need a Golden Panthers dry fit right now.
You should. You should. You need a Golden Panthers. What was that you were wearing? A onesie or a full? What was that full zip up thing?
Yeah, no, that was a onesie. That was a full out Twisted Tea onesie.
Yeah. You need a Panthers one. To dogpile on Marshall. Go look at their turnover rate this year, and look at the box score of Purdue. They should have lost to Purdue. If you're a candidate to lose Purdue, then I'm going to fade you and take Florida International 12. I like the bet a lot.
Colin, they haven't played a decent offense all year until smoke
and mirrors.
Their non-conference schedule was brutal. Ohio and Penn State out of the MAC, 2 of the worst offensive teams in the nation and in the conference alone. Purdue hangs 31 up on them. Luckily for Marshall, they got 2 pick sixes to seal up that game. And then they get ODU, Southern Miss, Charlotte. They gave up some points to Florida Atlantic, and obviously when they travel to Middle Tennessee, and this is why I like the over last weekend, was I thought Middle Tennessee was going to be able to utilize or to capitalize on their secondary, but they just turned the ball over to. I mean, they could have had 21 first half points if it wasn't for 2 turnovers inside the 10-yard line. So, am I sold on Florida International's defense? Not entirely, but I don't think that it's a Marshall offense that's as big a threat as people think it is. I mean, I watched Chase Litton throw the ball, and he got banged up a lot last week versus Middle Tennessee State. It's a team that wants to. You look at last year with Cato and Schuler. It was more of downfield throwing and Cato improvising on the run, and that was what killed opposing secondaries. Litton's
no one in the Conference USA could keep up with that.
No, they couldn't. And now they've reverted to this quick screen game. They're trying to get guys like Devontae Allen and Hailey Foster, Emmanuel Bird. They're throwing like 4-yard smoke routes and hoping that their offense can make a play. So if Florida International can keep the chains moving, they got a decent ground game to go along with some pretty good receivers. So they got a nice tight end in Jonnu Smith, who was a preseason Conference USA first team All-American for the conference. So there's a few mismatches on offense, and I think that I don't know. I like it, man. The more I look at it, those games where you look at it and you think, getting 12 points is great. I think this team can win outright. So, this is Florida International's game to win, and it's Marshall's game to lose. If they want to make up for a complete no-show versus their in-state rival, then it's going to have to be this week. It's not going to be against Western Kentucky because you're not going to be able to stop that offense. So, 12 points is a lot in the do-or-die game.
So if you're going to tail, because I'm going to tail, and when I hit it, I'm going to tweet that I'm tailing you, would you sit around on the 12? Because my personal ratings, for what they're worth, had this game at 7.5. So sitting around at 12 with Marshall getting a heap load of money, do I see this kind of jump up to have one of those smoke ghost screens up to 14 on Saturday morning?
I don't think it's going to go up to 14. I don't think you're going to see. I mean, obviously 11 and 12 are dead numbers. 13 is not a bad number to get. So if you, I don't think this number reaches 2 touchdowns.
Right.
I really don't. So if you're looking to get it at, I mean, obviously I think whatever way it goes to start off is not really going to matter. The 11.5, 11, 12.5 obviously isn't going to matter, but I can't sit around and say that I think the sharp money is going to come in on Florida International early. That's going to drive it under 10, but I think 12 is a good number. I think if you can get that under 10, then you're looking good. To be perfectly honest with you, and that's Florida International rants. Ooh, sweating over here. I'm sweating right now. I smell like garbage.
It must be that part of Illinois. It's got to be that part of Illinois you're in.
It must be. There's no doubt. There's no doubt.
It must be close to Blind Capper.
Yeah, it's my guy. He is pretty close. And actually, Degen, Mr. Degen Capper, he was down in Charleston, Illinois, on campus like a year ago. I mean, I wasn't on campus, or else we would have got together. But he sent me a picture of the university. He was like, "Hey, I'm right by you." I was like, "Oh, thanks thanks, man. Could have got a beer together. Talked about DFS.
Thanks for letting me know.
This does me no good." So,
in case any of the people I've trolled in the last week are watching, yes, I drove right by your house, and no, I didn't ask you to go for a beer.
Exactly right. Colin, play of the day, numero tres.
Oh my gosh, I'm looking at my list of plays this week, and I don't know who I want to throw out. I'm looking at who I've hit. I'll say that some of the things I've hit over at CCH. I hit Charlotte +7. It's down to 5. I hit ULM +14. I think we're hanging out at 14.5 right now. I still think that's good. But if I'm going to give out a play, I got my eyes. I got leans on Cowbell hosting Alabama, but I haven't pulled the trigger. A little scared there. I think I know Oklahoma State going to Iowa State. I know that's at 14. I know there's a lot of, RLM, real sharp guys trying to think 14's good with Iowa State, but I've got the game being 24. Iowa State's 1-5 against the spread in that series. Let me get a game here and get concentrated.
I don't like anything about Iowa State this weekend, to be perfectly honest with you.
I don't either. I don't either. But I'll save that one.
Oklahoma's the roll. They have all the reason in the world to blow the doors off them for the rankings. There's no reason to hold back.
Iowa State is zero threat. I don't care if they're at home. I don't care if it's a night game. I don't care what it is. That team is just in shambles.
Yeah. Yeah, let me, you know what, let me throw out a dirty game, a real dirty game. I'm going to be quick with it because I'm not real deep into who their linebackers and cornerbacks and everything is. I hate Old Dominion with the passion. I always have. I fade them. I make money. They make me so much money. I might have to go buy a beanie of the Monarchs. I love them so much. So the UTEP two-step, old Tim Hardaway and where Nolan Richardson coached basketball, UTEP two-step is coming in. I think you can get them at 6 currently. That is way too many points. I got this game as a pick. They're coming into Old Dominion. Old Dominion is 1-8 against the spread their last 9 games. They are 2-9 against the spread at home. They are the cash cow to fade. It's my fading cash cow. I will take UTEP and all those points when I make this a pick 'em. Nice short this week.
Team sucks. Schuler Bentley's a terrible quarterback. They're a one-dimensional team with Ray Lowry at running back. And the funny thing is they had success early in the year running the ball. And then once teams figured out they're one-dimensional, they stacked the box, forced Schuler Bentley to throw, and I think they went 4 or 5 consecutive games with 17 or less points. So
give me all the Mike Price strippers in the world. Let's go.
Let's go, Monarchs. Let's go. Conference USA connoisseurs over here. Let's try saying that one 7 times fast, you idiots. You idiots.
Yeah, try doing it do it 7 times fast in Rome's voice.
Oh,
okay, man. Conference USA connoisseurs, 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 in Conference USA connoisseurs, you motherfuckers. That's what Rome would say. Rome likes to give everybody the fuck you, and he loves to throw up the middle fingers and say, "What's up?" And then it kind of irks me. But you gotta love the guy, dude. He brings so much energy. It's almost too good.
He keeps me on my toes, and I like to look at him. What? All right.
Yeah, he does. He does. I love what he brings to the table. Old Dominion. I remember looking because you. Forgive me for if I'm wrong on this, Colin. You played them last week and cashed on them.
Yeah, I played them last week and.
Went out, right?
If I remember right, I was what did I get on that game?
What do you get, +12?
I was plus 12 on the game. I was hot on them because everything was going against them. Let me look it up here.
Yeah, plus it was near in double digits or plus. It was either +8 or +12. And they ended up winning by 6.
Yeah, they won as a straight up dog, and I'm pissed. I was pissed off. Now I remember why I was pissed off because I hit a massive lay for like round robin by 2s, 3s, and 4s for $500, and I did not put them in there, and I was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now. God damn it, they won 36-31. They were not in my lay, and I remember that's what pissed me off about it.
Yeah. Yeah, still a good call, and then it's a good time. If you could play a team, then fade them. That's what I've been doing, man.
Well,
I mean, Florida International's just been that team for me. So
that was a fade of meat too, which I've actually got in my notes. I'm fading them again this week. So
perfect, man. Perfect. So Colin, we have Kansas State +5.5. We have Auburn -1.5, and we're also playing UTEP plus. What are they? 6?
I think we're doing 6. I'll take the worst number. It's not going to matter. The Old Dominion sucks.
Yeah, I agree. I don't even think you need points, but just give me something. Give me a handful of them. It don't really matter. Cool, Brian. Number 3, your last, your final pick before we get into upset alerts and we start becoming friends with the people and talking about other people's games.
Yeah, like Colin, I have a couple dogs, but I'm not sold on them. I kind of like Mississippi State. I kind of like his Razorbacks for some fucked up reason.
Mm-hmm.
I like Wazoo. I've been riding them. I like NC State. But for the pod, I'm going to give out my third under of the week. It's another ugly low under, which a lot of people are scared to play. But give me 2 shitty offenses with somewhat good defenses any day of the week. We'll go to the SEC. Give me Kentucky, Vanderbilt under 40. Kentucky is 5-1-1 to the under in their last 7 conference games. You want to get real deep. Vanderbilt's 47-22-1 in their last 70 conference games, but they're 4-0-1 in their last 5 home games.
You're missing a big one.
They all trend to the under.
You're missing a big fan on Vandy. You got to hear that. If we got to throw this out there, Vandy has not gone over this year.
Nope.
There it is. I was gonna say the last 7 times these teams have met in Vanderbilt, the under's 5-2. Vanderbilt the last 4 weeks they've scored 7, 0, 10, and 7. They're just barely better than Missouri at scoring points. Barely. And that's telling you something right there. I think I could watch Pee Wee football on a Saturday morning and see more offense, but then I might get told something else. I think
Alex and I need to dust off our old high school football. I couldn't play in college. I think we need to dust off our old skills and go sign up for some Vandy, Missouri. Yeah, we can do it.
Funny thing. 1, I am a national champion. Nah, this isn't my shirt. No, I swear to God, I have an NAIA national championship. My freshman year, we won the national championship. I have a pretty ring. It's awesome. Didn't play though because I cracked my femur. You guys, I don't know if you've watched any Illinois football.
Unfortunately, I like to ruin my Saturday mornings with the Big Ten all the time. So yes, I have watched Illinois football.
Yes, safety Clayton Fedulum for Illinois. He's a walk-on. He's a white dude. He's like leading the Big Ten in tackles. He was actually my roommate over at St. Xavier.
In the Big Ten, you got to narrow down white dudes.
Exactly right. He's the white kid that looks like Craig Stelz. He's got the long hair. He is my roommate.
Now it sounds like Jeff Samardzija.
Yeah, that's pretty much, man. We were roommates, won a national title together, and then he went on to bigger and better things at Illinois. He's actually leading the conference in tackle. So funny story about that. And number 2, my first ever letter, high school football, was from Vanderbilt University. Funny story.
Holy shit, kid's got a 30 ACT.
That was my first letter. And then Toledo and Bowling Green wanted me to play strong safety, and I told them to go get back.
Good call.
That's a good. That was. Yeah. No. Yeah. Hey. Toledo, let me play safety, and then I'll just try to cover Bowling Green's wide receivers. How does that sound? Perfect. Jesus Christ, man. So yeah, that's a little nostalgia from my adolescence. See, I don't even know where we were at. Brian,
I'll take the.
You jumped into Brian's under, which is a good under.
Yeah, it is.
That's my third play. I'm rolling with 3 unders this week, which most of Twitter will hate because who plays unders these days? But that's my place.
Vandy hasn't had an over yet this year. This is just amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brian, you do realize if Vanderbilt goes over, Brian, then you are just cursed because you had Missouri under.
Hey, it's
you
okay.
Missouri last weekend, they hadn't gone over.
If it goes under, I'll be drunk in a Palo Alto parking lot. It won't even matter.
Well, just like a 49ers tailgate.
If it goes over, Brian, we know who to blame. Simple as that.
Yeah, just tell them to call me 867-5309.
Jenny.
All right, play number 3. Play number 3. I can't even, man. All right.
Pull it together, AK.
Are we collected? Guys?
We're waiting for you.
All right. Third play. Second of the underrated totals, under the radar totals. Sorry. Utah State Air Force over 51. Okay. Now, I can't even say a few anymore. Back in week 3, I was all about Utah State. I had written novels about Utah State. My autobiography was dedicated to Utah State. And I was talking about how after a loss, they were averaging just astronomical numbers on offense. 37.6 after a loss, which is loads more than what Utah State normally averages. They're not built offensively. They're a defensive structured team that has some pretty good playmakers. Obviously, Chucky Keaton's not going to be playing. Kent Myers is the quarterback. I don't really know what the situation is going on there. Chucky Keaton suffered an injury. Kent Myers has been the quarterback. He's a sophomore. But when I played this quote-unquote angle back in week 3, Utah State was playing Washington. And I played on the team total, obviously, because that's what the numbers had given me. Well, they ended up not coming through. Well, the next 2 times that Utah State had lost this season, I didn't play because I thought the trend was dry. They ended up scoring 35 and 58 points. So now we're back at it. They lose to New Mexico last week. So I expect them to be guns out versus Air Force, who, by the way, and tell me this isn't kind of a crafty move on my part. Let's look at how Air Force plays after playing a service academy. Okay, and you could call it a stupid thing, but at the same time, you got to look at it this way: that Air Force, their defense, their first team defense usually goes up against a scout team, and they don't go up against a triple option attack. Obviously, they had to last weekend, so they get ready for the triple option attack for 1 week, and now they got to go back to covering a spread offense. A team that actually likes to spread it out. Hunter Sharp is a good wide receiver for Utah State. I look for him to make some plays. An average score after Air Force plays a service academy in the last 6 years is averaging over 61 points per game. I thought that was kind of weird. After Army, combined points of 69, nice, 82, 37, 42, 71, and 62. After Navy, 51, 47, 55, 95, and 76, 60.3. I think it's just one of those under the radar totals that nobody's going to look at. But at the same time, I don't think Air Force has the defense, nor do I think that they played the team, a team that's really offensively structured. The only team that really, I guess you would call offensively structured would be Colorado State, and Colorado State hung up, I want to say, 41 or 38 points on Air Force. So this is one of my under-the-radar totals that you might skim over and not think that there's value, but I think there is some value with this one. I think Air Force, obviously it's hard backing it over with a team that likes to run the ball and can take a lot of time off the clock, but I think if Utah State scores and kind of forces one into a game where Air Force might have to throw the ball a few times, that's when you catch defenses off guard, and I think it can turn into some fireworks. So with that being said, I will take the Utah State Air Force over 51. Let's play the trends, baby. Let's play the mother-loving trends.
I like it.
Thanks, man. You know, I don't know. I really don't. It could be, people could be listening to this and they could literally come on Twitter after this and say, wow, that's the stupidest insight I've ever heard. But if you kind of put it into reality, the way a team prepares for a triple option attack for a week, and now they just got to go back to you got to prepare for a team. And Utah State's a team, offense hasn't been anything through the roof, but at the same time, it's a team that really kind of likes to stretch you out at times from sideline to sideline. So if they could find some holes, I think it's a secondary that can be exploited. I don't think Air Force is anything too special on defense, although the numbers may be skewed due to playing some garbage Mountain West teams. So give me the over in that game. And we will do upset alerts.
Gosh, are we starting with me?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy. So I'm going to lay off this whole Arkansas upset alert thing. I don't think Arkansas – I don't think Bielema was lost in November in a couple of years. He seems to be on a roll when his team gets to be real shitty and nobody's expecting him to do anything. The guy pisses me off. Arkansas 7-1 against the spread in the series against LSU, so be on the lookout. They're also 14-4-1 away to the over when they're on the road. So look for Arkansas to score a lot of points and probably cover, but not going to be my upset alert. I don't think they get it done. Of course, I am alumni contrarian, and those are the worst kinds of people, so I'll lay off that game. I'm not going to go cowbell. Someone's going to throw out a stat.
Cowbell's on my list.
Yeah, I mean, someone's going to throw out a stat that Stark Vegas is a tough place to play, and that they're 12-2 straight up at home, but they're also 1-5 straight up at home when they take on Bama. So I don't think it's in the cards for them. If I had to give out a flat out nasty ass dog winner, I love Iowa. That's a big favorite. I love Baylor. They're a small favorite. Come on, let me give me a good. San Diego State's going to be sleepy off a bye, but I can never take Wyoming on the road. I'm almost coming down to having to take, and I like Oklahoma. I like a lot of favorites this week, and I am such a dog player. Oh, there we go. I got one. You ready? Well, no, I don't know. Can I take Rice? So nine of the last 10 games that Southern Miss and Rice have played the last 5 weeks, 9 of the 10 of them have been to the under. So you have to like no points being scored there.
That one favors Rice if you're asking me.
And it's on my list. I like Rice. I've got Rice circled. I've got the game at 6. It's in at 7.5. There's a ton of money coming in on Southern Miss. Southern Miss is coming off of a bye. So I tell you what, if you guys got to play something, I'm going to go with a first half Rice money line play, which is probably going to be sitting around about a +4. So maybe we're sitting at about a +180. I'll take that.
Cool. I like Rice a lot this weekend, and I think this is a sector of college football that I've covered exclusively with the Conference USA. Obviously, you guys know that. If you've been reading up on any sort of my collection or just listening to the podcast, I like playing Conference USA. This is a team that David Bailiff's taken to 3 consecutive bowl berths, and sitting with 4 wins, the Owls have Southern Miss, then they have Texas San Antonio, and then they have Charlotte. So obviously there's 2 winnable games on the back end, but I think if you're David Bailiff, you're telling your team, let's not wait around. Let's not try to win the last 2 games. Let's make it easy on ourselves. Let's try and get a game at home. And I think off of a loss against UTEP, I think that's what really has the public leaning towards Southern Miss. But Southern Miss, we talk about this a lot. Teams with momentum on a bye week. I don't know if I'm not going to say that the momentum's not going to be there, but you don't want to be. It's almost kind of possible to slow a team's momentum down with a bye week. And now the Southern Miss is going to have to go down south to play in Rice. I don't know. I like the points. I have Rice in one of my spread pools, so I like the Owls.
Awesome.
Very nice.
Brian.
So, like I said earlier, I like NC State, Mississippi State, Arkansas, and Washington State, but not enough for the pod. Probably end up playing them as the week goes on. My play, and it's going to be disgusting, and I might not even watch it. It'll be for tomorrow night. I'll take Virginia Tech +3. I absolutely hate. Well, these are both very underachieving teams. Minus Georgia Tech's blocked field goal touchdown, Florida State. They've been getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 4. They've lost the other 6 of the last 7 games, and it's been ugly, very ugly. Virginia Tech isn't much better, but they are 4-1 their last 5 at Georgia Tech. The Dogs 8-1 in this series, and the road team's 5-0 in the last 5. So give me Virginia Tech +3.
Yeah.
Georgia Tech is 1-6 against the spread in their last 7. Both these teams are coming off of a bye. This has to be probably one of the worst quality college
Thursday
football
night.
watches. Yeah, this is gonna be a rough one.
That's why I said this is one where I might just have to tell the wife, okay, what do you want to do to get it out of the system.
Honey, would
for
you
the
like
weekend.
to go to dinner? This would be a perfect time, right?
Yeah. Get on their good side. That's a veteran move right there. So
Yeah,
try to get on their
first
review. Get on their good side and make the vibe feel like you're really just making an effort for the relationship, whereas you're doing yourself a favor.
Bingo.
I got a bold prediction: Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, Buffalo, and the Jets. All 4 don't combine for 15 points in the first half of both games tomorrow night.
I was just going to agree with you. The under in both of those games, just lock those up. Check SportsCenter.
Yeah, you have to think that the Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech under could be a good play, just based off of previous statistics, based off of teams getting rest, preparing for the triple option. Obviously, it only aids Virginia Tech to get an extra week of preparation for that offense. So that'll be that'll be a good game to watch. My dog upset alert is going to be on the Purdue Boilermakers plus 16 versus the Northwestern Wildcats. I originally had these flipped. What's up?
I need a shower. You said Purdue?
Yeah.
Ooh, I need like a bath, wash my hair twice. He said Purdue.
Yeah.
I want to hear this. Let's hear it.
Well, here's the thing. I originally had, I don't know, I was totally going off of my outline here. I was originally going to have Purdue as my second play and have Florida International as my upset alert. But let's talk about Northwestern here. I think Pat Fitzgerald coming in was the right move for Northwestern, and obviously he hasn't catapulted up to the top of the Big Ten, but obviously he's done great things there. I'm not going to call this a sandwich spot for Northwestern because I don't think Northwestern has much to play for. They've already secured a bowl win. They're not going to go anywhere else in the Big Ten, in my opinion. Emotional win versus Penn State. They have Wisconsin on deck next week. So obviously with Wisconsin underachieving this year and Northwestern really kind of at a standstill, I'm not going to call this a sandwich game, but after getting up for Penn State, having to get up against Purdue and laying 16, that's one point I'm going to make. Number 2 is Clayton Thorson. I don't know if his health is going to be 100%. Obviously, a backup quarterback playing Purdue shouldn't pose any problems. But here's what I really like. Pat Fitzgerald, his shining moments for Northwestern has come when Northwestern is an underdog, not in the favorite role. He's not good in the favorite role. In fact, he's 0-6 against the spread his last 6 games as a double-digit favorite. Now, when you look at Purdue, obviously, this team is just, you really never know what you're going to get with Purdue. They won their quote-unquote Super Bowl 2 weekends ago versus Nebraska, came home and just played like garbage versus Illinois. Now, I don't think that Purdue is necessarily going to be raring to go against Northwestern here, but at the same time, let's talk about Derek Hazel here. 4-0 against the spread his last 4 as a double-digit dog on the road in conference. And you look at the past 2 games that Wisconsin lost 24-7. They held Wisconsin's offense in check for much of the game, and then this is Michigan State too, 24-21. It's a team. This is a Purdue team that really has nothing left to lose, and I think 16 points is a lot of points in a game where I think is going to be low scoring. So, do I think that they're going to win? There's a very slim chance that I even think that Purdue can scrape up the momentum or the offensive talent. But at the same time, I think that Northwestern, their defense got exploited. I know I've used that word a lot, but it's a good word to use. Has been kind of capitalized on in the past few weeks. I don't think that it's a defense that was as good as we may have perceived. So the offensive game plan is kind of a train wreck for Purdue, but at the same time, if that goes up to 17 or 17.5, I think Purdue is a good play. I just don't think that Fitzgerald hasn't fared well in this spot, and I don't think he's going to be. I don't think this is primed to be a blowout as many expect. I know that Northwestern beat Penn State, but you guys know my stance on Penn State. I don't think Penn State's a good team. So I think that emotional win at home, Now you get to play Purdue. Early game, I'll take Purdue plus the points.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm gonna tell you this. I hope Purdue wins the game, and I'll tell you why. I said in a couple tweets, and I'm actually going to write an article for Saturday's Edge. Last week I put out this sort of March Madness type bracket about trying to predict who's going to win the 4 seeds and where the value is in futures right now. So I'm putting that together, and Iowa is such a hot topic. I mean, coming in from 65 to 1 and 33 to 1, it's just getting higher and higher. Purdue has Iowa next week. I will not mind at all if Purdue wants to pull off some sort of upset against Northwestern, because I think Iowa is going to cover the spread against everybody remaining on their schedule this week, then against Purdue, then against Nebraska, because that bullshit against Nebraska. People that got on Twitter and said, I told you Corn was going to cover. Come on, man. Come on, did you watch that guy run out of bounds? I mean, basically, he took a left and went to Waverly, Nebraska before he came back inbounds and caught the ball. I mean, come on. So I think Iowa's going to cover every game until they get their ass blown off in the Big Ten championship. I think.
Yeah.
So I would love it if Purdue won this week, because I think they're going to get murdered at Kinnick next week.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm not a big. I cover the Big Ten exclusively for Maize and Brew. I mean, I put out picks on every game every week, and I could even say right now that it's not a conference that I look into heavily every week. And when I say that, I mean I don't feel comfortable playing a lot of these teams because you never know what you're going to get. Take a team like Minnesota. Take teams like Minnesota, Northwestern, and Purdue, and look at what they've done the past 6 weeks. And it's just been up and down. Some of these teams are putting up 51 game, then they can't score 14 against Illinois. It's such a fluctuation, and that's why I love Purdue this weekend, is because the Big Ten has just been the whole box of chocolates that you just don't know what you're going to get. There's been some unbelievable games stemming from Michigan, Michigan State, Nebraska. You've had Minnesota take Michigan to the wire. I mean, it's just been pure fuckery in this conference, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Purdue keep it close. And I think 16 is asking a lot from Northwestern and a team that I don't think is that good on offense. I just think they've found ways to score. But Purdue's defense is garbage, and Northwestern should score, but that doesn't mean that they're going to. And like I mentioned a few times, just the whole emotional win versus Penn State on the last-second field goal. Wisconsin on deck. So maybe going through the motions here. First half could also be a good play as well, but I'm going to take the full game. I'll take a 60. I think Purdue keeps it close. Could be wrong, could be right, but that's what I'm rolling on, and I'm confident in it. So obviously.
I thought this whole segment was just picking teams to straight up win as a dog. I didn't know we were getting points. That's why I was. Saying. Were you saying Purdue's going to win straight up?
Oh, well, I mean, putting in teams on. Usually, when I do an upset alert, is taking a dog, and then if they can, I took Wyoming versus Air Force. They were getting 24.
Yeah, that was awesome. I'm looking to smack as many plus 20 to 1 2000s as I can in a dirty way.
Yeah. Well, it's not. This isn't strictly the case of where I'm trying to find the best dog. But I like to pick. I'd rather take a shot on a team that's plus 14 and plus 17 than take those plus 3, plus 4s. I'd rather just give those plays out as dogs and just try to gamble on one of these teams that I think could squeak something out at the end. So it's merely more for fun. I wouldn't recommend playing Purdue money line, but I think getting 16 points, obviously. If you want to do a unit on Purdue and a quarter of a unit on the money line, that's usually what I recommend for Saturday's Edge, but that's me.
So let me say this too. There's going to be, when I tweet out on Sundays and I put in, some trends and I put in where I think the number's going to be, we're going to get in, and this is the whole reason why I like Kentucky this week. And I know that there's some steam building up where it looks like the sharp plays to take Vandy this week. So my theme on this Sunday morning while I'm having coffee is teams that have to have a win or 2 wins in the final couple of weeks to get to a bowl game, and that's what Kentucky fills into this week, because I don't really necessarily think that clubhouse thinks they can beat Louisville in the last week. So this week against Vandy and next week against Charlotte is their shot with 4 wins to make a bowl. So just keep it in mind when you're looking at teams that are sitting around on 4 wins, and take a look at the rest of their schedule, because that coach is in that locker room saying, you want an extra 4 weeks of practices? You want to go to a shitty-ass bowl in Memphis, Tennessee or Shreveport, Louisiana? We got to win this game this week. So keep pay attention, watch what happens this week. Keep an eye on who has 4 wins, who has 5 wins, what the rest of their schedule is, and you'll see where the motivation is for the next 2 weeks coming up.
Something I've been paying a lot of attention to. I mean, I've been playing Florida International the past 3 weeks just based on them trying to get in. I mean, you got a whole ledger out there with teams. I've been strictly the benefactor for playing Florida International games, so I've been looking at that as well. That's something I've been and looking at schedules. If there's one team, like you said, that's hanging on the back end, and a team that that knows that there's a Power 5 team that's 8-2 sitting at the back end of that schedule. 2 wins are desperately needed, then they're gonna have to go out and prove it. This is I tailed you on this play, C-Dub in my spread pool right when you posted it. Kentucky, I got them at 2.5, which is a bad number.
Yeah.
But when I see on covers, everybody likes them right now. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see if you're going to be getting a little message from me after they get trounced by 36 to Vandy.
What's funny is I hit these plays on Sunday, and last night I'm sitting around, I'm staring at my Twitter timeline, and it's just I've never seen so many people against Toledo in my life. They had a bad game against NIU, and NIU owns them, and there's a little bit of movement on the line, and then all of a sudden everybody and their damn mother is going against Toledo, which is one of the best teams in the MAC. And I think Linda Train pointed it out there really well. There's an upper tier in the MAC, and then there's CMU that's really kind of trying to chipping. I love that. Trying to chip their way into it. And you got to watch out for this steam. Even though something doesn't steam the right way, it's not the end of the world. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that somebody with $5,000 is putting money on, is pushing the line for Central Michigan. You got to look at the talent. You got to know like what's coming to the table, and the purpose behind some of these line moves is not always money. Just because somebody has $5,000 or $50,000 to put money on the Chippewas and move that line, drive it all the way down, below, down to 3 or whatever it was, that doesn't mean it's the right side. I mean, you have to look at Toledo, I thought that was kind of a joke of a line last night. So, this Kentucky thing is the same way. Their motivation in this game versus a Vanderbilt team that is coming away with a moral victory out of Gainesville to lose that game 9-7. Everybody, you ever played any kind of team sports like softball or anything, you lose to the best team by 1 run, you pat each other on the back, you did great. The next game, you lay a fucking egg. You lay an egg. You don't come out with your best performance again. So
I agree, man. That's all.
I hate it when everybody on Twitter and covers or anything starts agreeing with me, because once I see like 100% agreement across the timeline, it's time for me to hop off.
That's the thing. I'm a guy that likes to get my plays in early because then I don't have to think about it. It's not hanging over my head, and I'm looking at it, and I see Vandy cover as a 21-point favorite or 21-point dog rather, nearly win the game outright, coming back home versus Kentucky where they're a favorite. I'm like, there's no way. I'll back Mark Stoops and the Cats. So
as long as it goes under, I don't care what you guys do.
Yeah.
Just give me the under.
Brian don't give a shit who wins the game. He just wants to.
I'll support you guys. Just make sure it stays under. That's all I ask.
Every time
Kentucky covers and it goes over, we're not talking.
Every time Vandy scores, we have to take a shot of Clorox. So.
Yes.
Sounds good.
Yes.
That'll be a good one. Let's get into the community plays here. What we usually do, let's see, 1 sentence, 2 sentences or less on what we like, and from our boy Benny the Jet, BPG 11.
I love Benny. I met Benny.
You met him?
I met Benny. Yeah, we had a little powwow at Higgy's house.
Oh, you motherfucker. YOLO.
What? You guys were all at Higgy's house?
Are you what?
You guys
we all meet up at Higgy's house, but hey, Colin has a standard rule. If I have a personal relationship with you off Twitter, it stays off Twitter. So just say that. I love Benny. What's Benny got in the cards for us?
All right, Auburn, Georgia total 51.5. In recent years it'd be 61.5. I think the line says it all, 51.5. I'll take the under here. I don't think Georgia scores.
I'll take the under here. I'll take the under here in Twitter fashion. Why would Georgia want to score any points for Rick? Does Rick give a shit?
No, I'll take the under as well. It's like I mentioned when you liked your Auburn play. Auburn's playing great defense. Georgia doesn't give a shit. Make it like a 28-14 Auburn win. You get your under right there.
Cool. Florida State, North Carolina State total I'm taking the over on this one. I like Brissett the way he's playing. I think Florida State, after playing a good Clemson defense, can maybe find some holes on North Carolina State's defense. And I think after the loss last weekend with Florida State, perhaps a mental lapse on defense. Brissett looks like he's finally finding his groove of what we thought he was going to be. He can improvise inside and outside of the pocket. So I'll take the 52.5.
Yeah, I'll take the over any number, and the reason is because North Carolina State scored at will at the #1 team in the nation, Clemson. They are a thorn in Florida State's ass, 9-1 against the spread and the streak in the series with Florida State, and they're 7-1 straight up their last 8 on the road. NC State's going to score at will against a hangover Florida State team. Take the over.
Colin just mentioned every reason why I like NC State plus 10, and that's why also I like the over. I could see it being like a 35-31, if not even more, Florida State win if NC State doesn't win outright. But, yeah, give me the over.
But Arkansas State side, they're laying minus 14.5 to UL Monroe, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm gonna go with Arkansas State. I hate it. It hurts my heart. They beat Yosef. They beat Appalachian State. They're in the driver's seat of the Fun Belt, and I don't think anything is gonna. They're not gonna lose their grip of that. I'd like to also, so I'd take Arkansas State no matter what. But I'd also like to throw in a little thing on the over. It's sitting at 57, up to 57.5. Arkansas State 17-3 to the over in conference play. That's 85% clip rate. Get the over on that game.
No play on this one for me. I don't play Sun Belt. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, I don't believe in the Sun Belt, but Colin's really good at it. So
well, you guys treating it like it. What are you treating? You treating it like some religion, like some hokey religion. It's football.
It is.
All it does is ever make me angry. I got enough other things that make me angry.
Every over I like is an under for some reason, like Texas State. I'm like, holy shit, this offense is good, and they don't do a damn thing.
Well, you can blame John for that.
Yeah, quit betting the Bobs.
All right. Brian, did you have any take on Arkansas State?
No, I just said do whatever Colin says because I could care less.
Cool. Marshall total 50 against Florida International. I'm not even going to say take a total because Marshall's totals have been fluctuating like crazy. It's been a seesaw battle. Florida International team total over 19 for me.
Yeah, that's a great. I mean, we both like them to cover the 12. I like them to Florida International possibly win. I think it'll be within a touchdown. So obviously to do that, they're going to have to score some points against Marshall. So yeah, the team total, I'll tail that too if we made a play.
Yeah, give me the over. If you look at Florida International, they've actually been trending to the over in the conference for the most part. Marshall's going to put up points on that team. Like you said, if you guys believe it's going to be close, I believe you. Over has to be the play then.
Opened at 49, floated up to 54. That's the way it's going.
Yep, get it now or to keep going.
Cool. Texas Tech, Kansas State total. Over. Kansas State team total over. They dismantled TCU's defense. They could do it to Texas Tech's defense.
Yeah, it's a Big 12 over. Can you do the proper voice, please?
Okay, guys. I think I'm going to go with the over on this one. You look at, I don't have his name on me right now, guys. Sorry, I was running a little late, but Kansas State. It's not a bad offense, but it's a pretty decent offense. But they're gonna have some guys that are gonna want to make some plays. Obviously, you look at Bill Snyder, the way he's nurtured them. They're gonna want to do good for their mentor. So I think you're gonna give me the over on this one, guys.
It's perfect. That was good. I'm gonna be the thorn in your guys' ass here. Texas Tech.
Do it.
Texas Tech gave up over 300 on the ground to Sam Houston State to start the year. Taking overs on them seems to be the easiest damn thing in the world. The over is clipping 62%. It opened at 74. It's down to 71.5. I think the second this is over, I'm going to put a half unit on under 71.5 and just balls to the wall with an under in a Big 12 game.
Cool.
I love it. I played a Texas Tech under last week. I had this Texas Tech under circled this week because I I think Texas Tech, they just keep getting beat down. You saw it against West Virginia, and Kansas State plays a little bit of defense, surprisingly.
Yeah.
I see the clock running a lot with Kansas State. You saw when they played Baylor, they ran that clock. They can do that against Texas Tech's weaker defense. I love the under.
Big 12 unders are like drugs. It's just like, oh, this is great.
Yep, I love the under.
Yeah. If you could stomach it, then more power to you. But Southern Miss side, we agreed on Rice, Colin.
Yeah, we did. I got the game marked at should be 6. It's at 7.5. Rice playing at home against a sleepy Southern Miss off a bye. Take Rice.
Yep, that's the last thing you want to do is halt an offense like that. Nick Mullins is a good quarterback for Southern Miss. Good for Todd Monken to get a quarterback that can actually throw the ball. I mean, the team looks pretty good. He was the quarterbacks coach over at Oklahoma State and got to be the the ringleader for guys like J.W. Walsh and Wes Lunt. And now he finally gets the guy. Yeah, so I'm taking Rice in this game. I like the Owls plus 7.5 / money line wing face.
No play for me. Sounds good.
Cool. Cincy Tulsa total. I'm wrong on every Cincinnati total. I really am. It's a team that looks like they're almost on the decline in terms of offense. I mean, we look at the previous, I don't know, probably a month and a half ago back when they were playing teams like Memphis and Miami. They were flying over the total. And then BYU, UConn, Houston, all unders. I'm going to have to go under on this one. Even though with Tulsa's terrible defense and they just chuck the ball, I'm going to go under on this one. But it's mainly just a lean. Nothing that I would, write home about.
Yeah, the total's really high here. We're getting over 92% clip on the tickets. Opened up 75, currently sitting at a cool 77 on Bet Online. I will say that Tulsa's offense has not been the same since Montgomery lost one of his key wide receivers there. I mean, he's doing an amazing job. They're going to be an over cash cow for years to come. The more he gets ingrained and gets his players in there, but I know this thing is steaming up a little bit. I'll say let it steam out Saturday morning. Take the under.
Yeah, no, I agree. I like that under a lot, actually, because Cincinnati's actually been thriving in the under for the most part this year.
Yeah.
And Alex is right. Their offense, it still works. It keeps them in games, but it's not as potent as it once was. And Tulsa's just been a shell of themselves recently. So yeah, play the under. I like the under.
Cool. Last one from my boy Mike Torres at Mike T Baseball. He pretty much, before he's got his tweet sent out and he goes, "Fuck you, Alex," and he sends it because he wants to know if I like North Carolina this week.
Those are your boys.
All right, I'm gonna start off with this one. The U is getting 12.5 to a red hot, and I mean red hot North Carolina team, a team that gets Gene Chizik as the D coordinator, and they're doing really well. I mean, it's not a team that's shooting themselves in the foot. Marcus Williams is scorching hot. Switzer, hot. Bug Howard, hot. Quinshaw Davis, hot. I mean, these guys have... What's up?
Nothing, continue.
These guys have so many receivers. I think that Miami can actually match some numbers on the off. I think North Carolina really has yet to play a team of talent, if that makes sense. They've played a lot of, defensive-minded teams and just pummeled them. You could Duke, hit. They've just been beating the hell out of opponents, and it's been fun to watch, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm actually going to take the 12.5 here with Miami. I think that it's inflated due to the recent outburst, but I think there's some guys in the offense that could put up some scores against North Carolina's defense and finally take advantage of a weak secondary. So give me the U plus 12.5. I don't like it at all. I don't like anything in this game because I don't look at North Carolina games. I don't do it, but I like the U, which means Marcus Williams might win a Heisman next week. He might
I've wanted the other side. I love UNC. You guys know, if you guys saw my tweet about my futures, I've got a 300 to 1 on UNC, so I'm kind of pulling for them to boat race everybody, get to Clemson, blow them out. I need some help from some other scenarios, but as we've been sitting here potting, 12.5 across the board. Pinnacle decided to take this thing up to a 13. My personal ratings have this as a 16. these interim head coaches, it's something to be USC where you get a new interim head coach and you play good for one game.
Yep.
But then for multiple consecutive games after that means that he's really, whoever the interim is, he's making a real impression, because sometimes teams come out, they give it all for their one game, and then they shit poo-poo the rest of the season like the Miami Dolphins, right? So, in Miami's case, I just love UNC. I think, what did they put up, a frickin' basketball score last week? I think that this is not something you want to be in front of. I know 76% of the money in the public is back in UNC, and I know it just climbed to 13. I don't think they're wrong here. I think the number is just off by a point or two. So I'm gonna back the Heels at 13.
Yeah, I'm not going to get in front of the Tar Heels train. They're just rolling. Miami's playing shitty football. Not even all out goal, in my opinion. Sorry, I was watching a highlight real quick. It's either UNC or nothing for me, and I'm okay with nothing. But they're rolling. They're at home. They need to keep winning big. I got to go with UNC.
Yeah, this is just a game where I can't. I mean, I just don't take my advice into account. Tail these guys. Don't listen to me because I can't. I can never figure out North Carolina. When I want to back them, you guys are probably lucky that I'm not backing them, because if I did, then they wouldn't show up. They'd travel like 11 guys and be like, "Oh shit, where is everybody?" And like, "Oh, I'll just give the win to Miami." So.
Yeah, this interim head coach thing. I'm sorry, I'm just going to interject a stupid comment here, but this interim head coach thing is a mess, because I'm going to be writing a college football preview here in about 5 months, and I think the turnover rate for head coaches is going to be somewhere around 33% of all FBS teams. This is going to be a bonanza of head coaching moves coming up here in about 4 weeks. It's going to be amazing.
Oh yeah, Fuente, Babers, there's so many guys that are going to be moving. PJ Flack. I mean, we can if you want to, Colin, Brian, you'll be out of town next weekend. So if you want to come on next weekend, we'll talk about that right away. Talk about some coaching and where we could possibly see some new guys and all that fun jazz.
Yeah, I think I will not be in an airplane next Wednesday. I think I will be in a Vermont hotel room. So yeah, I would love it. Let's do it.
Perfect. Awesome.
We need to have a bowl. We need to have a bowl motivation segment. As in, I've got 4 wins and I need to win.
I love it. That'll be huge. Perfect. Any closing thoughts, guys?
No, just thanks for coming on again, Colin. Thanks for replacing me next week. It'll be better advice, people. And I'll be back the following week when I'm back from Oxford. So enjoy.
Have fun, Bubba. Thanks for having me on, guys.
No problem. Anytime, man. We always appreciate your input. And best of luck, as always, to you guys. I mean, do your thing on Saturday, as I always state. Make Saturday your day. You only get so many of these a year, and they are dwindling down. So, guys, best of luck. And if you guys ever need us, obviously follow us on Twitter at AlexK_47, at BDentrick, and at CW of CCH. Guys, thanks very much. Have a safe.
Sports Degens.
Pardon me? Oh yeah.
And at Sports Degens.
The Sports Degens at.
I got to shameless plug it. It's just how it works.
Yeah. Cheap pop.
Cheap pop. At CCH Picks. Follow the affiliates, and best of luck, guys. Have a great week. Have a phenomenal Saturday. I love you. Smooches.